I always spot the weak places. Now I can see yours. The wine glass in my hand carried 2 sets of fingerprints. My wife had not been drinking red wine when she rushed out for her emergency work meeting 3 hours earlier. I stood in our kitchen. I lifted the glass toward the ceiling light. The smudges caught the glare like evidence in a crime scene photo. A lipstick mark circled the rim. It was that deep burgundy color my wife wore only when she wanted to impress someone. The question was simple. Who was she trying to impress? My name is Mike Walker. I am 43 years old. For 20 years I have trained myself to notice details other people skip. I started out as an engineer. After the corporate world tried to grind me down, I moved into home renovation. Both jobs taught me the same lesson. Everything rests on a foundation. If you know where to look, you will find the cracks. Tonight the cracks in my marriage showed up. Katie's gym bag sat by the front door. She had dropped it there when she hurried out. She said there was another crisis at the public relations firm. A client had a problem that could not wait until morning. It was strange. These client emergencies always seemed to land on her gym nights and on her wine club nights. I unzipped the bag. I expected to see her usual workout clothes. I did not. A crumpled men's t-shirt lay on top. It was a size large. It reeked of cologne I did not recognize. Under it, I found a pair of her underwear. Not the simple cotton kind she wore around the house. These were black lace. They were expensive. She had stopped wearing that kind for me months ago. "Dad, are you okay?" a voice asked. I turned. My 17-year-old daughter, Emily, stood in the doorway. She has Katie's dark hair. She has my watchful eyes. Right now those eyes studied me in a way that made me uneasy. "I am fine, kiddo," I said. "I am just wondering where your mom went." Emily stepped closer. She lowered her voice. "Dad, I need to tell you something about Mom." The doorbell rang before she could go on. Through the frosted glass, I saw a tall shape shift around on our front porch. I stuffed the items back in Katie's bag and opened the door. Tyler Grant stood there. He is about 6 feet tall. He has the body of a guy who lives at the gym. He held Katie's laptop bag in his hands. He works under her at the public relations firm. He drives a leased Tesla that he cannot really afford. His smile always looks practiced. It makes me want to check my wallet. "Hey, Mike," he said. "Katie forgot this at the office. She asked me to drop it off." "Come on in, Tyler," I said. "Can I get you a drink? We have wine." I raised the glass with the 2 sets of fingerprints. "Looks like someone already started without us." His smile slipped. "Oh no, I cannot stay. I have to get back to the gym." I checked my watch. "It is almost 10 o'clock at night," I said. "That is dedication. I respect that." I stepped in close. Not enough to start a fight, just enough to make him feel it. "You know, Katie has been working out a lot too," I said. "She is really committed to her routine." "Yeah," he said. She is very disciplined." "Show me your hand, Tyler." "What? Your hand? Show it to me." He hesitated. Then he opened his right fist. A strip of black lace dropped to the floor between us. We both stared at it. The silence stretched out like a held breath. "It is not what you think," Tyler began. "Dad," Emily said. Her voice cut the moment in two. She had been watching from the stairs. Now she walked down, slow and steady. Her face looked pale, but her eyes stayed firm. "I need to tell you something," she said. "Mom has been lying to both of us." The next morning I sat in my truck outside the gym at 6 o'clock in the morning. I watched Katie's car in the lot. She had come home after midnight. She told a story about working late on damage control for a client's social media problem. I acted like I believed her. I also acted like I did not notice Tyler's cologne still hanging in our hallway after he left. Emily had told me everything the night before. She saw Katie and Tyler at the mall, holding hands like teenagers. She heard hushed calls that went silent when she walked into a room. Katie had been lying about working late for months. "I did not want to hurt you, Dad," Emily said. Tears stood in her eyes. "But I could not watch her do this to you anymore. I was done being the clueless husband. It was time to become the hunter." My first stop was the gym office. Dan Cooper has been my friend since college. He runs this place now. More important, he controls the security system. "You sure you want to see this?" Dan asked. His fingers hovered over the keyboard in his cramped office behind the front desk. "Show me," I said. The black and white security video looked grainy, but it was clear enough. The timestamp showed 7:30 in the evening. Katie walked into the gym alone. 20 minutes later, Tyler arrived. They met by the sauna area. They looked around to make sure no one saw them. Then they slipped inside together. Jesus, Mike, Dan said. I am sorry, man. I studied the time. 7:30 to 9:15. Almost 2 hours in the sauna. During that same time I was at home with Emily. I helped her with her college applications. I sat there wondering why my wife had so many emergencies. Can you make me a copy? I asked. Dan burned the footage to a universal serial bus drive. He did not ask a single question. Good friends do not ask questions when your world is coming apart. People like this make it easy. They hand you the proof and ask if you want to light the match. My next stop was Rita's Tavern, a small dive bar 3 blocks from Katie's office. Rita has been pouring drinks and collecting neighborhood stories for 15 years. If Katie and Tyler were foolish enough to show up in public together, Rita would know. Mike Walker, Rita said as I slid onto a stool. She polished a glass and gave me a look. I have not seen you in here for months. Where's that pretty wife of yours? Working late again, I said. Happens a lot lately. Her face changed. I could tell she had something to share. Bartenders are like priests. People confess to them, even when they do not mean to. Rita, I need to ask you something, I said, keeping my voice steady. I need you to be straight with me. She leaned in close, even though the place was almost empty. Your wife was in here 2 weeks ago with that young guy from her office. The one with the fancy car. Tyler, I asked. That is him, she said. They were in the back booth. Real cozy. She was telling him she had you wrapped around her finger. Said she could make you believe anything. Those words hit like a punch, but I kept my face calm. What else? I asked. She had too much to drink, Rita said. She was talking loud. Said you were so trusting you would never guess what she was really doing in the evenings. Rita paused. I am sorry, Mike. I thought about calling you, but it did not feel like my place. I left a $20 tip and walked out to my truck. My mind ran hot. Katie was not just cheating. She was laughing about how easy it was to fool me. That afternoon, I started tracking her movements. I did not use fancy spy gear. I used common sense and basic tools. Our credit card records showed charges at restaurants I had never heard of on nights. She said she was stuck at work. Our family phone plan made it simple to check her location history. It showed regular stops at an address I did not recognize. I looked it up online. The place belonged to Brooke Lawson, one of Katie's yoga friends. Brooke lived in a mansion on the expensive side of town. The kind of neighborhood where people have too much money and too much free time to meddle in other people's lives. People said Brooke hosted private gatherings for her close circle. The kind of parties married people would not host at home. I parked outside Brooke's house and called Katie from my truck. I watched the windows while the phone rang. Hey, honey, she answered, bright and fake. What is going on? Just checking in, I said. I wanted to let you know I will be working late tonight. The Henderson project is behind schedule. Oh, that is too bad, she said. I might have to work late too. This client situation is getting worse. Through the front window, I saw Katie pacing in Brooke's living room while she spoke to me. She wore the black dress she told me was at the dry cleaner. Do not wait up for me, I said. I might be very late. Okay, honey. Love you, she said. I love you too, I said, and hung up. If Katie wanted to play games, I would show her how a real player moves. I settled in to wait. At 10:30 that night, a Tesla rolled into Brooke's circular driveway. Tyler sat in the car and checked himself in the mirror. Then he walked to the front door like he owned the place. I had spent the last hour studying the layout and the security setup. Brooke loved smart home gadgets. With the right access, a person could control everything from a phone. Lucky for me, Emily is a computer science student. She has taught me a few things about wireless networks and sloppy passwords. Through the living room window, I saw Katie and Tyler side by side on a white leather couch. Katie had switched into a silk robe that left nothing to the imagination. They sipped wine from crystal glasses and laughed at some private joke. Katie threw her head back and laughed the way she used to laugh with me. I pulled out my phone and tested Brooke's home security application. The password was Child's Play, Brooke 123. In a few minutes, I had control of the alarm system. At exactly 11 o'clock at night, I triggered every alarm in the house. The result was instant and beautiful. Lights flashed. Sirens screamed. Inside, Katie and Tyler scattered like bugs when the kitchen light snaps on. Katie tried to dress in a hurry. Tyler crawled around looking for his shoes. Both of them were in a blind panic. Tyler burst out the front door first. He sprinted for his car with his socks in his hand. I was waiting for him, leaning on his Tesla like I had been there all evening. Going somewhere, Tyler? I asked. He froze. In 3 seconds, his face went from confusion to recognition to fear. Mike, I can explain, he said. I am sure you can, I said. But first, let us talk about your taste in underwear. I held up the black lace panties I found in Katie's gym bag. Tyler went pale. You left these at my house last night, I said. Careless. Tyler backed toward his car and fumbled for his keys. Look, man, it is not what you think. I took one step closer. He flinched. Good. Fear is a language everyone understands. Here is what I think, Tyler, I said. You are a small man who chases married women. You drive a car you cannot afford to impress people who are using you. And you are about to learn what happens when you pick the wrong family. I slapped him. Not hard enough to break anything. Hard enough to leave a mark. His head snapped to the side. When he looked back, real fear lived in his eyes. Touch my wife again, I said softly, and you will be scraping your teeth out of your seat cushions. He dove into the Tesla and tore out of the driveway. He clipped Brooke's mailbox on the way. Metal bent. Paint scraped. I took photos with my phone. I already knew how I would use them. Katie stepped into the doorway, clutching her robe. Her hair was a mess. Her makeup was smeared. She looked exactly like what she was. Caught. Mike, what are you doing here? Taking out the trash? I said. I did not look at her. You might want to get dressed. Unless you plan to drive home in Brooke's bathrobe. I walked back to my truck. In the rearview mirror, I saw her on the phone, talking fast. Probably calling Tyler. Trying to figure out what I knew. The answer was simple. I knew everything. And it was time to use it. Katie waited for me at home. She sat at the kitchen table with her hands folded, like she was running a meeting. She had changed into jeans and a sweater. She wanted to look clean and innocent. The guilt on her face ruined the act. We need to talk, she said. I opened the refrigerator. I took a beer. I moved slow. Let her sweat. About what? I asked. About tonight. About what you think you saw. I sat down across from her and studied her face. Katie is good at lying. 20 years of marriage taught me that. But she was rattled. The confident woman laughing on Brooke's couch was gone. A different one sat in front of me, desperate to regain control. What I think I saw. I said, I have video of you and Tyler in the gym sauna. I have credit card records for dinners you never told me about. I have your location data showing steady trips to Brooke's house on nights you claimed you were working. Her face went white. You have been spying on me. I have been paying attention, I said. There is a difference. She changed tactics. Tears in her eyes. Voice soft. Mike, I know how this looks. You are wrong about Tyler and me. We are just friends. We work together. We talk about office issues. I took the black lace underwear from my pocket and dropped them on the table. Friends do not trade lingerie. The tears vanished. For a second I saw the real Katie. Cold. Calculating. Angry at being caught. You went through my things, she said. Tyler dropped them at our house last night. I said. Careless of him. She stood and paced to the window. Okay, maybe Tyler and I have gotten close. But it is not what you think. I am not having an affair. Then what do you call it? I call it none of your business. We are adults, Mike. We can have friendships outside our marriage. The gaslighting was impressive. Make the victim into the aggressor. Turn me into the bad guy for finding the truth. 6 months ago, it might have worked. You are right, I said, standing. We are adults. So I am going to treat you like one. I went to my home office and came back with a manila folder. Inside was everything. Credit card statements. Location history. Screen captures of her messages about working late, cross-referenced with where she actually was. This is what an adult conversation looks like, I said. Facts. Evidence. Truth. She paged through each sheet. With every turn, her face fell a little more. Where did you get all this? I am good at my job, I said. I notice details. I investigate problems. I find solutions. I leaned back in my chair. Right now, you are the problem. Are you threatening me? She asked. I am informing you, I said. This ends now, or your entire social circle gets a clear picture of who you really are. Her mask dropped. You bastard. You cannot control me. I am not trying to control you, I said. I am trying to save our marriage. If you would rather burn it down for a gym rat with a leased car and dreams bigger than his sense, that is your choice. She grabbed her purse. I am staying at Margot's tonight. Do not wait up. The door closed behind her. Emily came downstairs. She had been listening. Sadness and relief wrestled on her face. Is it over? She asked. Not yet, I said. But it will be soon. The next morning, I moved to phase 2. I have learned the best revenge is not loud anger. It is clean, patient balance. Systematic. Complete. First, I sent an anonymous email to Tyler's Human Resources Department. I attached the photos of his scuffed-up car from last night. I added a short, careful complaint about reckless driving in the company lot. Nothing that would get him fired. Just enough to put a bright circle around his name. Second, I paid a visit to our elderly neighbor, Mrs. Baker. She spends most days in her front room, looking out over the street with a cup of tea and an eye for trouble. She loves her flowers. She loves a good story even more. She had been watching Katie's comings and goings for months. I knew something was off, she said as she poured me tea in her crowded living room. That girl has been acting strange all summer. Different cars. Late nights. Lots of quick hand waves and hurry, hurry. Different cars? I asked. Oh yes, she said. There is the Tesla boy. There is that woman, Margot, with the red convertible. And sometimes your wife walks to the corner and climbs into cars I do not recognize. Mrs. Baker had been keeping a simple log. Dates. Times. What she saw? She handed me a small notebook full of neat handwriting. The entries built a clear picture of a double life. I did not want to meddle, she said. But I like you, Mike. You fixed my porch steps last winter and would not take $1. A man like that deserves better than a cheating wife. Armed with Mrs. Baker's notes, I drew the map. I followed the lines to the people who helped Katie hide. Margot, the real estate best friend who lives for drama. Kevin, a co-worker who breathes office gossip. Brooke Lawson, the social media queen who posts everything for her followers. They smiled at me at block parties and at backyard grills. They shook my hand and asked about my projects while they helped my wife tear our house down behind my back. It was time to return the favor. The next evening, Katie came home with Margot in tow. Both wore tight, practice smiles. Trouble smiles. I was in the garage sanding a cabinet door when they boxed me in. Mike, we need to talk, Katie said. All of us. Margot stepped forward with her real estate agent grin. Mike, Katie told me about your little misunderstanding. I think this is just a communication problem. I set down the sander and looked at both of them. A misunderstanding about her friendship with Tyler, Margot went on. Katie has been helping him with personal problems. His divorce. His custody issues. She has been a friend and advisor. That is all. The lie was big and neat and layered. I almost respected the effort. They had spent the night building a story that explained every piece of evidence and painted me as a jealous fool. Personal problems, I said. Is that what they call it now? Katie moved closer. Mike, I know you are upset, but you are wrong about this. Tyler and I are friends. That is all. I took out my phone and tapped play. Last night, before she drove to Margot's, I had tucked a small digital recorder into the pocket behind the driver's seat. On the way, the two of them planned their script. Katie's voice came sharp and clear through the speaker. Mike is getting suspicious, but he does not have real proof. If we stick to the divorce story, he cannot prove anything else. Margot's voice followed. What about the underwear Tyler dropped? I will say Mike planted it. Make him look unstable and controlling. By the time I am done, everyone will think he is having a midlife breakdown. The color left both of their faces as their words filled the garage. You recorded us? Katie whispered. I documented a conversation that took place in my car, on my property, I said. That is perfectly legal. I paused the clip. Do you want to hear the part where you two talk about cleaning out our joint bank account? Margot edged toward the door. I should go. Good idea, I said. But listen, Margot. That recording is backed up in several places. Think very carefully before you help Katie spread more lies about my mental health. Margot left without another word. Katie changed tactics. She touched my arm like she used to when she wanted to soften me. Baby, this is crazy. We are fighting over nothing. Tyler means nothing to me. You are my husband. You are Emily's father. You are the one I love. For a moment, I felt the pull of 20 years. Muscle memory. Habit. The urge to forgive. Then I heard her laughter in Brooke's living room in my head. I remembered what Rita said about Katie bragging that she had me wrapped around her finger. The moment passed. If that is true, I said, then you will not mind signing this. I handed her a document I had drafted that afternoon. It was a post-nuptial agreement. If either of us is caught in an extramarital affair, the cheating spouse gives up any right to alimony and to any shared assets in a divorce. Sign it, I said, and we can start rebuilding trust. Refuse, And I will assume you plan to keep seeing Tyler, I said. Katie read the document twice. With each paragraph, her face lost a little more color. This is insane, she said. I am not signing away my rights because you are having trust issues. Then we have nothing more to discuss, I said. I picked up my sander and went back to work. A few minutes later, she left and slammed the garage door hard enough to rattle the windows. Phase 3 started the next morning. I have spent years building ties in this town. I coached Emily's soccer team. I volunteered at school events. I helped neighbors fix fences, steps, and leaky sinks. People know me as steady and honest. Katie, for all her social climbing, has a reputation for flash and for cutting corners. It was time to lean on what people already believed. I kept it simple. I told the hardware store owner that Katie had been working late a lot, and I was worried about her stress. I mentioned to Emily's guidance counselor that there was tension at home, and I did not want it to hurt Emily's college plans. I did not accuse. I did not rant. I spoke like a concerned husband to people I trusted. Small towns move information fast. By the end of the week, half the neighborhood was talking about our marriage. The other half was choosing sides. Most of them chose mine. Katie's careful image began to crack. Her yoga friends started asking why every work emergency happened on the same nights. Her book club noticed how often she checked her phone. Parents at Emily's school whispered when she walked past. The final blow came from a place I did not expect. Brooke Lawson, the social media queen who hosted Katie and Tyler, made a big mistake. She posted a video on her story from her wine cellar. In the background, you could clearly see Katie and Tyler kissing. The clip stayed up for 6 hours before Brooke realized what she had done and deleted it. 6 hours is forever online. Screenshots do not die. By Monday morning, the image was everywhere. Group chats, text threads, local pages, all of it. Katie's phone started ringing at 7 o'clock in the morning. It did not stop until she shut it off at noon. She found me in the workshop. Her face was streaked with tears. Her voice was raw from crying. You did this, she said. You orchestrated all of this. I did not post that video, I said. Brooke did that all by herself. But you set it up, she said. You turned everyone against me. I told the truth, I said, looking up from the tabletop I was sanding. If the truth turned people against you, maybe ask yourself why. I want a divorce. Okay, she said. That one word took the air out of the room. She expected a fight, a breakdown, something she could use against me. I gave her nothing. That is it. Just okay, she asked. You made your choice months ago when you started sleeping with Tyler, I said. I have been waiting for you to be honest about it. She stood there for a long beat, small and lost. For a second, I almost felt sorry for her. Then her back straightened. The old Katie returned. Cold, calculating, ready for war. Fine, she said. But this is not over, Mike. I will take you for everything you are worth. We will see about that, I said. The divorce papers arrived on a Thursday. A courier handed me the envelope like he hated to ruin my morning. Katie wanted half of everything. The house, my business, my retirement accounts, even my tools. Her lawyer had written a neat story about emotional abuse and financial control. In that version, I was a manipulative husband who drove her into another man's arms. I read the packet twice, then called my attorney. David Chun has handled my business contracts for years. He knows how to cut through noise. She is going for the nuclear option, David said after he reviewed the filing. This is designed to scare you into a quick settlement. She is hoping you will pay rather than fight a long, expensive case. What are my chances in court with what I have collected? I asked. Pretty good, he said. But family court is unpredictable. Judges dislike cheating spouses. They also dislike husbands who spy on their wives. It could break either way. That night I sat Emily down for the hardest talk of my life. She is 18 now, legally an adult, but she is still my kid, and this was still our home breaking. Whatever happens, this is not your fault, I said. Your mom and I made our own choices. You do not have to pick sides. Emily stared at her hands for a long moment. Then she looked up. Dad, can I tell you something? Always, I said. I am glad you are fighting back, she said. I know that sounds awful, but I have watched Mom lie to you for months, and it was eating me alive. She turned our house into a place where the truth did not matter. You do not have to, I started. Yes, I do, she said. Because I am done pretending. Mom has been cheating on you since last spring. Not just with Tyler. With other guys, too. She told me they were work friends, but I knew better, Emily said. She made me lie for her, Dad. She made me cover when you asked where she was. The words hit like a punch. Not just Tyler. Others. Multiple affairs. Multiple lies. All dressed up as work emergencies and social plans. Why did you not tell me sooner? I asked. I hoped she would stop, Emily said. I thought if I helped keep the secret, she would see what she was risking and come back to us. She started to cry. I am sorry, Dad. I should have told you from the start. I held my daughter while she cried. In that moment, whatever love I still felt for Katie let go. Cold resolve took its place. I would end this on my terms. The chance came 2 weeks later at the annual charity gala for Emily's school. It is the big social night. Everyone comes to see and be seen and to raise money for scholarships. Katie would never miss it. Tyler would likely show up too. His company was one of the sponsors. All of Katie's helpers would be there in their best clothes, ready to nod along with whatever story she was spinning about our divorce. It was the perfect stage for a public reckoning. I spent 2 weeks getting ready. The plan was simple and devastating. No violence. No illegal moves. Only the truth, shown with her own words and her own actions, at the exact moment it would do the most damage to her polished image. The gala took place at Riverside Country Club. The place sprawls under crystal chandeliers, with floor-to-ceiling windows looking out on the golf course. I arrived alone in my best suit. I carried a small leather portfolio with everything I needed. Katie was already there near the bar, holding court with Margot and a few women from her circle. She looked stunning in a black gown, and she wore the role of the wronged wife like a costume. When she saw me, her face tightened, but she kept the smile. Tyler hovered near the silent auction tables. He looked uncomfortable in a tuxedo that did not quite fit. He kept glancing at Katie, waiting for a signal. I made small talk with parents and neighbors. I accepted their kind words about the tough spot I was in and their support for whatever came next. The sympathy felt real. That made what I was about to do feel like justice, not revenge. At 9 o'clock in the evening, the organizers asked for everyone's attention. The program included a speech from the principal, thanks to major donors, and a raffle for prizes from local businesses. I had made a special arrangement with the coordinator. I donated a weekend getaway at one of my rentals. What she did not know was that I had also arranged for the winning ticket to sit in a very specific place. Ladies and gentlemen, the coordinator said, it is time for our final raffle drawing. The winning ticket for a romantic weekend getaway has been hidden somewhere in this room. The first person to find it wins the prize. People laughed and began to search under tables and behind decorations. The room turned into a gentle treasure hunt. I watched Katie. She stood near the code area, chatting and pretending not to notice the game. Perfect. I had slipped the winning ticket into her purse. I had also tucked in a universal serial bus drive with every piece of evidence I had gathered over the past months. Photos, audio clips, credit card records, location history, and screen captures I pulled from our shared cloud storage. I found it, called Janet Morrison, the school secretary. She held up the ticket she had just lifted from Katie's open purse. It was right here in this bag. Katie stared, confused, as Janet handed her the ticket. I do not understand. I did not. Congratulations, the coordinator said, taking the microphone. But wait, there is something else in there. It looks like a universal serial bus drive. Should we see what is on it? The room buzzed. Someone plugged the drive into the venue's presentation system. I had arranged the files in order. The most obvious first. The worst last. The first image hit the huge screens around the room. Katie and Tyler kissing in Brooks' wine cellar, pulled from the infamous story video. A wave of gasps rolled across the hall. What is this? Katie said, her voice rising. Next came the credit card statements. With charges highlighted at romantic restaurants on nights, she told me she was working late. After that, the location history, steady visits to hotels and private homes during business hours. Then came the final blow. The audio I recorded of Katie and Margot planning to gaslight me. The audio rolled through the ballroom speakers so everyone could hear. Katie's voice echoed off the chandeliers. Mike is getting suspicious, but he does not have real proof. If we stick to the story about Tyler's divorce, he cannot prove anything else. Then came her laughter, bright and cruel, as she bragged about how easy it was to fool a trusting husband. I stepped forward and took the microphone from the stunned coordinator. Ladies and gentlemen, I am sorry to interrupt your evening, I said, steady and clear. But you should know the truth about my wife's recent behavior. Katie has been carrying on multiple affairs. She has lied to me. She has lied to our daughter. She has lied to many of you about where she spends her time. Katie pushed through the crowd toward me. Her face was white with shock and rage. You bastard, she said. You planned this. I documented it, I said. You lived it. Tyler tried to slip toward the doors, but a few people stepped in his way. His face went red with shame and anger. This is harassment, Katie screamed. You cannot do this to me. Actually, I can, I said. Everything on that drive is legally obtained proof of your adultery. You have been doing this while asking for half of everything I own in our divorce. I looked out at the faces of neighbors and friends. I thought the community should know what kind of person they have been dealing with. Security guards appeared, but they did not seem sure who they were supposed to remove. The coordinator waved her hands, trying to get her program back on track. Katie made one last desperate move. She lunged at me with her hands clawed like hooks. You destroyed my life, she said. I caught her wrists and held her at arm's length. You destroyed your own life, Katie, I said. I just made sure everyone could see it. Tyler finally found his voice. He puffed up and stepped forward. Let her go, you psycho. Or what, Tyler? I asked. You will fight me over another man's wife? How noble. He threw a wild punch from a mile away. I stepped aside and let his own weight carry him. He stumbled into a display table stacked with auction items. Crystal glasses shattered. He went down in a mess of wine and flower petals, his rented tuxedo stained and wrinkled. The room broke into chaos. Some people raised their phones to take pictures and videos. Others tried to calm things down. Katie sobbed hard, black tracks of mascara running down her face. I handed the microphone back to the coordinator. I walked toward the exit. At the door I turned and spoke one last time. The scholarship fund will receive an anonymous donation tomorrow to cover any disruption to tonight's fundraising, I said. Then I looked at my soon-to-be ex-wife, surrounded by the few friends who had not left her side. Katie, I will see you in court. Emily waited for me in the parking lot. She had watched from the back. She hugged me hard. I felt her shaking, part adrenaline, part relief. Is it over? She asked. It is over, I said. We drove home in quiet, easy silence. Behind us, the country club glowed like a stage after the final curtain. The last act of our domestic drama had played out the way I planned it. Katie will recover someday. She will find new friends. Maybe she will move. She will blame me for every part of it. Tyler will likely lose his job and definitely lose the lease on the Tesla he cannot afford. As for me, I slept well for the first time in months. The truth was out. The lies were done. The last house on Harrison Road was peaceful again.